Welcome back to Access All Areas. Matthew Richardson and Damien Barrett with you. And now we're going to be joined by Brendon Goddard, St Kilda superstar. And Brendon, welcome to Access All Areas. And you know what we're like in the media. You see you wearing a New South Wales T-shirt. We come to conclusions. You've taken the offer from GWS.
No, it's the Nike sportswear, mate. So
Okay.
no ties to New South Wales at all.
Okay. Yesterday, big win, huge win. You're still a chance, aren't you, to be playing in September?
Yeah, we think we are. Mathematically, we can still obviously make the finals, but we've got a couple of tough games coming up, and yeah, it was good to get the win on the weekend. I said earlier in yesterday, I think that it was just probably on the back end of 3 or 4 really good weeks. So it was a good effort by the boys last night.
How much do you have to lift your game for Collingwood this week? The Doggies didn't put up much of a fight after quarter time yesterday. Yeah,
they've obviously been going really well. They've a couple of losses in the last 2 or 3 weeks, but they obviously bounced back against GWS. But they're obviously a top 4 team, and a team that's we've had some really good competitive battles with in the past, and the obvious ones are the grand finals. But even before that, we've had a long rivalry with them. Has always been a pretty tough game against Collingwood.
I know you approach each game as you would professionally, and St Kilda has done that for a number of years now. But when you, just asking you here, place against Collingwood, does it an extra spike in your, I suppose, arousal levels for that particular game?
A little bit. Just, I guess they're touted as a top 4 team or a premiership side, and they've got a really good midfield, some really good players. So I guess you rise to the challenge, but you like to think that you don't put any more effort into preparation or your effort towards the game just because we're playing Collingwood.
BJ had a really good game yesterday, and your milestone game. We spoke to Nick Riewoldt after the game, and he believes you get judged a lot from your performance in the finals in 2010, and therefore expectations on your form are probably out of whack. Do you sort of believe that a little bit?
A little bit, but they're expectations I put on myself as well. Yeah. So in a way, it's not unfairly judged on those games. But yeah, in terms of statistics, I've been slightly down on previous years and other games, but I still, as I said during the week, I feel like I've been impacting games in different areas, and yeah, I have high expectations of myself, and I'm the harshest judge of anyone.
And how do you judge yourself then, if you were, I know this is a little bit simplistic at times, but to give yourself a ranking out of 10 for 2012 to this point, are you able to put a figure on that?
Probably be a 6 or a 7. I've admittedly had some 3 or 4 poor games. But with that, I've found a level of consistency. But as I've said again during the week, I think I said that I haven't had those standout games that I've had in previous years, and it maybe with the role I'm playing within the team and allowing different players. We're pretty flexible now with a number of players who can go through the midfield, and I don't know, I'm biding my time, and I'll wait for my time to play the role within the midfield, and on the weekend I was lucky enough too, and Jack Stevens and David Armage found themselves playing other different roles which I'd been playing in the past.
Yeah, just going to ask you about that role, and you touched on it there. Has it been counterproductive to you personally in those real highs that you have had in recent years?
In terms of the game?
The game you've been asked to play this year, has that been counterproductive to you personally?
Oh, no, not really. I think it's... I'm able, as I said, able to impact games in areas that I haven't done in the past, and not so just much with the footy.
Yeah.
So it's about also making other players better. And early in the year, as Jack and David Armage are playing really well, and as I said, we've got a flexibility now in the midfield that it's all about waiting your turn, and everyone's going to bob up from time to time, and it just happened to be my time on the weekend, and I've played a different role in the past 7 or 8 weeks.
BJ, a lot of talk obviously this year with Travis Cloke. You must be pumped with him. He's taken all the heat off you with the contract negotiations. I've heard you say a few times you'd love to be a one club player. Where's it at the moment?
Yeah, in current discussions, just the club and my management group, ESP, are going through the process of what you need to do, and I've been open and honest about what's happened up to this date, and that's where we're at in the minute, and the club and my manager, Dan Richardson, have come out in the last week and said that also. Yeah,
I suppose what people on the outside don't get is if you want to stay at the club you've been at, why can't you just come out and say, I'm going to stay and it's done? That's what we on the outside sort of don't get. And I know it's a far more complicated situation than that. But it hasn't quite been done yet, has it? Obviously.
Yeah, and then, as I said, there's the due diligence that they go through and a process that they go through. And the club got a new structure now with Chris Pelkin stepping into the role halfway through last year, and they've got a process they've got to go through in different avenues. So it's not
do you think they're still making decisions on you?
Possibly, I don't know. My manager's dealing with that at the minute, and so I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure what they're thinking, but they're in discussions now at the minute. So there's a process both parties are going to go through.
Generally, when you stay at a club, BJ, you do have to take a fair whack less. It's just obvious that if you move, you're going to get more. What do you think the tipping point could be on something like that?
No comment.
Well, just in the context of that, and we'll just ask you one more and move on. But the Fremantle club has got the offer out to Cloak, and the talk that was coming out of there a month ago was that they felt he's going to stay at Collingwood, and therefore the focus would then go on Fremantle giving you the big offer. I mean, there's big offers out there for you, that one particularly. It must be tempting to consider it.
Look, every player's faced with that, or been in a position before, or placed with those decisions when they do come out of contract, and it's not different for any other player. You obviously make a decision based on what you think is important, and I'll do that when I get to that stage. But you know that happens to every player, and I'm no different to anyone or Cloak or a number of players that may come out of contract at the end of this year. Yeah.
So this will play out after the Saints play their last game this year, in your eyes?
Oh no. We're going through the process now, but not necessarily, no.
Yep. Hey, Stephen Milne yesterday had a relatively quiet game by his standards. There's a passage of play late in the game we'll just take a look at, and tell us your reaction to him demanding this footy here off Cozzy.
I was actually standing at centre-half back at the time and saw this, and as we see Cozzy there, he actually went to kick it twice, and I don't know if the guilt's kicked in and said I should handball this, but I thought at the time, I said, geez, so Milne wouldn't be given that one.
He hadn't kicked a goal to that point, Milne. He was pretty keen. Would you have handballed it to him?
I probably would have, but I probably wouldn't expect it back from Milne.
He's lined up someone there in the crowd and just missed, I think, too. There's a bit of controversy about that.
The Plug a Locket one up in Sydney a few years ago. It's a bit like that.
How's Cozzy going this year? He seems to have had some good games, but as always, some quiet ones too.
Yeah, he's probably hasn't found the level of consistency that he wants, but he's impacted a lot of games. I think he's just got to find a balance in between when he probably isn't taking those big pack marks and kicking goals where he can still have an impact on the game, and that's with the forward pressure and the tackling inside 50. So it's just about finding that balance when he's finding it hard to find the footy and kick goals.
I tell you, he's playing well. Your skipper, Rui, he's moving as well as I've seen him for a while. Yesterday, he was on fire.
Yeah, he's been moving really well. He's had a slow start to the year, probably admittingly, but he's been up and about the last 6 to 8 weeks and playing on a good player of Lake, and did really well. Kicked 3 in the first quarter, I think, and yeah, he's been up and about lately.
What about the score review system, BJ? I'm not happy with it. Can you back me up a little bit?
It's probably on the back end of the Richmond game the other night.
Yeah, I was pretty annoyed about that one.
Yeah, I think there's still a little bit of grey area. I think they used it 3 or 4 times the other night, and some of them may have been unnecessary. I think players might abuse it a little bit now and call for it. Just signal to the umpire I touched it, even if they didn't, or that kind of thing. That
do you think they're influenced by the players then?
I think it was pretty obvious the other night. I think they did when Rance said he touched it when the umpire was about to make it, or the goal umpire was about to call a goal or behind, and he said I touched it. So they pretty much forced to go to the review. So I think there's still a little bit of grey area. I can see the concept behind it, but I think it just needs some cleaning up around the edges. About
6 weeks ago, the players went into the AFL and asked for 2 buys next year, and the AFL last week said that wouldn't be the case. It'd be the same as this year, 23 weeks, 22 matches. As a senior AFL player, do you like not being listened to on that one?
You meaning as I get older?
Maybe that, yeah.
No, look, as players, there's no doubt that Richo will probably back me up, but the game's become more demanding, and not only during games, but from week to week, from Monday to Friday, and what we're required to do in terms of our fitness, also the mental side of it. So any break we can get within a season is obviously going to be an advantage to players. Personally, I'd love to have two breaks during the year, because it's about 11 or 12 you get that first break. From then on it's 10 games, and it just gets harder as the year goes on, and it's probably why you see younger guys just kind of taper off towards the end of the year, because it is very demanding and gets harder as the season goes on.
Yep. Big game against Collingwood this weekend. Thanks for coming in on Access All Areas today.
Yeah, thanks, fellas.
Thanks,
that's it. Brendon and Richo, thanks for your appearance on the show today. Don't forget, Friday's Access to All Areas will have Carlton coach Brett Ratton joining myself and Lee Matthews. And for now, Goodbye. Have a good week.